Uh, Everyone, welcome to our seventh general body meeting of the semester. We only have one more left. So thank you so much for coming all throughout the semester. I know I've seen some familiar faces and gotten to know some of you this semester, which has been super fun. Uh, please do sign in for attendance at acm@uc.org/c. It literally takes like 2 seconds to do it, and this way we can make sure I kind of know how many people came to our meeting, and also it helps us keep track of our voting members towards the end of the year when we vote for our new exec board. So please go ahead and sign in for attendance at acm@uc.org/c. Same thing, you know what, because it's on the new slide, and I'm kind of waiting for people from AMEND to show up. Please fill out your attendance at acm@uc.org/c. Did everyone get that? Did everyone get the sweet? This meeting is recorded, and all our slides and other resources will be available at acm@uc.org/archive and also on our YouTube channel. So in case you missed it, there's something you want to go back to in the meeting. You can go on the YouTube. The only thing you cannot get back is the food. So feel free to grab some more if you want. Uh, our mission is encouraging professionalism among tech enthusiasts like yourself in a collaborative fashion by facilitating learning beyond the scope of classrooms to develop innovative and inclusive ideas. So we kind of want to make sure that you guys learn things that you generally would not learn in classrooms and collaborate and work with people that you would not meet in your own classes. And that's why we hold these meetings where you can talk to other members of ACM and also learn skills that aren't offered within classes at UC. Uh, since this is our seventh meeting, I really hope that you guys know what ACM at UC is. But in case you don't, it's a student chapter for Association of Computer Machinery. We are the computer science and programming community at UC. Um, a group of students built around common interest in computers, technology, and software. So, like we were talking a little bit about before React and Angular, I think we all have one common interest, which is computer science or just technology in general. And this is the place to come to talk about all of those. We host talks, workshops, hackathon, and other events, talks like this, where we have people and speakers come from outside, or even sometimes student speakers come in and talk about their own experiences and skills. Like Dave talked about abstraction in programming earlier in the semester. We mostly do have CS, IT, computer engineering, information system, and electrical engineers, but it is open to all and every major. You don't have to be any of this. The only thing that wouldn't make ACM fun for you is your interest in technologies. What we do events like we do social, professional, and technical events. So we have guest speakers, panels at general body meetings like tonight. We have guest speakers from AMEND Consulting. Um, then we also do ICPC, which is International Collegiate Programming Contest, and we usually do that in spring. So it is just kind of lead code competition, but on a much bigger scale. I know Baru's super interested in that. It's kind of his game, and it will be in spring semester, and we are doing it again this year. So be on the lookout for that. Another big thing that we do is Revolution UC, which I will talk about more later on. We also do socials, like recently we went to Pumpkin Patch at Burger Farms, which is super fun. And hope all those who came, I hope you guys had fun. I know I did. We also do review sessions, which we'll do closer to exam week. Our services, we have a Slack community. We also have a Discord community. We record our meeting, and we also have meeting minutes and office hours. Code of conduct, we do want to make sure that all our members have a great experience, a harassment-free experience. And so code of conduct can be found at acm@uc.org, sorry, /conduct. Wow, this is the longest I've spoken for the introduction, I feel. We also do follow UC code of conduct, but generally, if you don't want to read all of that, just be cool. Don't go the whole, well, actually, kind of thing. And just focus on learning and having fun. So Revolution UC, something that we talk about a lot. It is one of the biggest thing that ACM does. And we are coming back in spring semester of 2022. It is UC's premier student hackathon. It is essentially 24 hours of coding, learning, and fun. If you don't know what hackathon is, spoiler alert, there isn't hacking involved in it. Well, a little bit of hacking involved, but not too much. That's not what it's centered around. It is centered around making a whole project by yourself or with a team, and showcasing it to judges and people from companies or professors at UC or both, um, and winning prizes, winning super cool prizes, and also just having fun in general. We provide free snacks, free food, so why wouldn't you come? And we have 300 plus attendance in general. You get a chance to connect with sponsors. Look out at revolutionuc.com for updates. We also have a Twitter and Instagram that we update regularly. So be sure to follow those for updates. Last thing, be sure to join our Discord community. It is kind of new and it is more casual. We do post everything on Discord and Slack, so you feel free to join either of those. I'd say join both because we do different stuff on both of them, but you would get all the information about ACM on both the platforms. Asha?
Cool, sweet. I'll give Josh a break so you guys don't have to.
Take your time,
Hey guys, my name's Ashay. I'm a 5th-year chemical engineering student here at UC. I'm gonna take 2 minutes, that's it, tell you guys about Bearcat Ventures, new club on campus. Quick show of hands, anyone know like what venture capital is, like the industry, are you familiar with it? Okay, good start, a lot of learning. So we're a club that's looking to build out the venture capital like space and interest on campus. In terms of what we do, every week or 2 weeks, we bring speakers that are actual like venture capitalists. We bring founders of some pretty high growth startups, and they could just come and talk to students about like what they do. And it's a really cool, intimate setting. In terms of like what you all like should kind of take away from this, if you want to connect to startups, if you're looking for internships or co-ops and you're looking for something that's like a little bit risky with something smaller, or if you want an internship at like a venture capital firm, scan that QR code, drop your email in there, and I will make sure to keep you looped in for that kind of stuff. And then obviously, if you want to generally learn more about venture capital, then do the same thing and we can get you more info. Yeah, that's it.
I might keep you talking a little bit more than that talk.
You want me to?
What?
Yeah, I can. All right, let me pause here. Does anyone have any questions about like venture capital, what we're trying to do? Yeah. Okay, great question. You still have the slides, Josh?
No.
You deleted them? No worries. Okay, cool. So venture capital, it's an industry similar to like healthcare, to oil and gas, to tech, right? It's an industry. It's made up of firms, just like any other firm, like Microsoft, Google, whatever. And they're really small. So like when you think about a VC, a venture capital company, it's not like 500 people. It's like anywhere from 5 to 50 people. And what they do is they go and they raise money from institutional, like big investors. So like, for example, UC has like $1 billion and a portion of that $1 billion is invested with some of these VC firms. So they go and they pile up this money and then they invest it into startups and people that like need money to kind of ramp up their businesses and get going. And then, of course, at the end of the day, the goal is to make money. So that's venture capital. Mm-hmm.
So you kind of take a big corporation and then you go invest in smaller corporations.
Small startups, yeah, with the goal of helping to scale them up, right? Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah. How much capital do people usually get for their ventures?
That's a great question. It highly varies. In terms of us, so one thing that we're doing, I didn't mention, is we're actually fundraising our own fund right now and putting together money. And we're looking to make about $25,000 investments into like student founded companies. But yeah, I mean, it can be up to like millions of dollars. Good question. Anything else? Cool. If you guys want to know more, just scan that. Yeah, what's up?
You ever invested in a startup that did not succeed?
Yeah, that happens all the time, probably like 9 times out of 10. Our goal is to not do that.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for talking about your club.
Thanks, guys.
If any of you want to know more about Bearcat Ventures, let me know, or let Ashay know, and I can share Ashay's contact or anyone else from Bearcat Ventures with you if you guys are interested. Or just scan the QR code. I'm sure that will lead to whatever information you need about it. So So next is the thing that you guys all have been waiting for, the talk on doing business intelligently, on Intro to BI with the men consulting. So we know most of our talks are usually focused on web development or other areas of software engineering and not as much as data science lately. So I think this would be a great starting point for you guys to know about data visualization. I know I don't know a whole lot about it, so it's going to be super fun to kind of know a little bit about that from industry professionals from AMEND Consulting. Um, so let me pull up their slides real quick. Um, please don't look at my emails. Are you starting up the presentation?
Awesome, yeah.
All right, sweet. So give a warm applause to Chelsea and Joseph.
Hello, everyone. Hope you all are having an awesome day. Sorry to be a little bit late. We didn't realize it was game day, but that's pretty hype. Is it basketball?
Yeah, basketball.
Go Bearcats. Love to hear it. I'm a UC grad. Joseph is not.
Yeah, this is all new to me.
Yeah, but we love to see it. But we're really excited to be here chatting with you all. So thank you so much for being here and thank you for having us. We're going to do a quick intro on, what is consulting because, would love to know what you all have heard about consulting in your classes, maybe, or other organizations. But then we're going to talk a little bit more about what AMEND consulting is specifically. And then Joseph is going to give us a little bit of an intro on business intelligence, Power BI, which is the tool that we use for business intelligence. And we'll talk a little bit about that and answer any questions you all have. Sound good? But my caveat before I get started with any of this is we want this to be very, very casual, very laid back. So if you have a question at any point, shout it out, interrupt us, laugh at our corny jokes if you want to. We would really love that. But we don't mean for this to be a very formal, like us talking at you. We want it to be more of a conversation. So jump in wherever. So first, how many of you have heard of or know about what consulting is? Okay, so a few of you, not a ton. So we'll talk a little bit about that first. So AMEND Consulting specifically, we do middle market management consulting in Walnut Hills. So that means that we work with mid-sized companies to help solve their problems and make them run better and, just help them with whatever they need. And we're located currently in Walnut Hills, which is just a couple minutes from campus. And we're really excited. We're actually moving offices to Pendleton in the new year. So that'll also be just a couple minutes from campus. So I can say, as someone who went here and co-opted AMEND during that, it's about a 5-minute commute. So you can't get much better than that. So that's a big, big plus to me. And as far as what kind of work we do, we specialize in analytics. We do technology, operational excellence, supply chain, PE, business turnaround. Pretty much everything. What I always say is the only thing that we really don't do is branding. We have no graphic designers on staff, but pretty much anything else a business needs, we'll jump in and do it. So who are we specifically? Just so you kind of know who's talking to you tonight, I'll let Joseph introduce himself first.
Hey, I'm Joseph. As was mentioned, I went to Ohio State, not UC, so I'm very lost. Happy to be back here. So I've been with AMEND for about 3.5 years. I'm currently a data scientist. Originally, I started as a project leader doing traditional consulting work. And then over the last couple of years, I've been moving more into like the data science space. And a lot of what I do actually now is more programmatic. So like Python and R specifically, but I used to do a lot of Power BI, so we can talk through that. Likes, beanbag chairs, Chipotle guac, absolutely phenomenal. Best guac I've ever had. That maybe says more about me. Yeah, thank you. Dislikes, Mad Libs, they're overrated. And I've never pet a penguin, so it's pretty disappointing.
We need to go to the aquarium soon.
Do they have those there?
At one point they did. I don't know if you can pet them though.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, I'll look into it for you. But I am Kelsey. I'm a senior analyst at AMEND. Like I mentioned, I went to UC. So I'm a UC graduate recently. I actually graduated this past spring, but I've been at AMEND for just about 3 years. So I started in the beginning of my 3rd year out of 5 with co-ops at AMEND, and I've kind of bounced between full-time, part-time ever since. So I was excited to finally graduate this past spring and join the team for real in a full-time capacity, which was cool. As far as my likes and dislikes, these were invented by Joseph, I will say that, but they're pretty accurate. So props to Joseph for knowing what I like and don't like. Love them Bearcats. First and foremost, that is the most important thing that I love. Dislikes, the top shelf, because I am approximately 5 feet tall, so obviously can't reach that, so that's a pretty tough one. Dry humor, sometimes it sticks, sometimes it just does not. And apparently I do not love mosh pits, which is a pretty accurate statement. Can't say I've ever been in one. So some fun facts about us. But as far as what we do in consulting, one of the cool things about AMEND that I really enjoy is that we are industry agnostic, which means that we don't have any one specific industry that we serve. So an important thing to know if you're interested in consulting and it's something that you want to do is that you can either go really deep into one industry, like any one of these industries have consulting firms that serve just them. So like if you're really interested in construction, you could find a consulting firm to do work with construction all day, every day, and that can be your thing. Or you can come somewhere like AMEND and work with any and all of these industries. So, you know, I'm sure Joseph also has a long laundry list of like random companies that he's worked with, but I've worked in pillow manufacturing, plastic manufacturing. I've made refrigerator and freezer doors. I've worked in construction equipment rentals and specialty dessert topping sales. All kinds of random things. I'm still hoping that'll come in handy at trivia one day. Hasn't yet. But it does keep things pretty interesting when you get to bounce between all different industries. And it's pretty cool to see that the solutions that we deploy in any one of these industries are pretty applicable across the board. So different skills that we build in, you know, a distribution project, those skills a lot of the time can sometimes be deployed in like a nonprofit or a manufacturing setting and all kinds of things. So we get to take different learnings that we have from specific industries and take them other places, which is a pretty unique value that we add. You can see these are some of the clients that we serve. So they're pretty random across the board. That's what you'll find in the middle market is there are some that you're going to recognize like Gorilla Glue. I hope you all probably know what that is. Home City Ice, if you've ever bought ice from Kroger, Crossroads, Paycor. Probably some of you have gotten paid through that system. So that's a pretty important one that we absolutely love to help out because we all love payday. But we also have some random ones on here like DeCunic. Has anyone heard of DeCunic? So that was our biggest client for a long period of time. And I think Joseph actually worked with them. So I'll let him give you a quick spiel on what they did.
They make plastic extruded window fittings. It's not really that wild, but they make a lot of them.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you don't think about the fact that it needs to be made until you help someone make it. Like I never thought about the fact that someone needed to make those plastic pieces in a windowsill until I learned about DeCunic. So we help a lot of big companies that people have heard of, a lot of kind of random middle market companies that you might not know about, but that's kind of what Cincinnati is. We've got a lot of companies that we don't necessarily know what they do until we work with them, but it's fun and it's pretty interesting. One of my favorites up here is Perfetti Van Mel. I went on a sales call to them one time. I've only been there once, but they gave me a whole bag of candy when I left because they make all different sorts of candy. So we've got some pretty fun clients. One that I haven't added to the slide yet, but I need to, is our most exciting so far is Walmart. So just a couple weeks ago, we landed Walmart as a client for the first time. So I guess we can no longer say that we exclusively serve the middle market. So our clients are continuing to get bigger and bigger, which is pretty exciting.
So real quick pause. Any questions through any of that? Questions about who we are, what AMEND is, stuff, anything at all? Sweet. All right.
Awesome. So what is consulting in general? You know, since I know that there aren't very many classes in UC's curriculum that actually teach you about consulting specifically, we want to make sure to touch on that so that you're all, you know, aware that that is an option for you moving forward in your careers. So as far as what we do, it really varies on a day-to-day basis. So I can't tell you what one specific day looks like as a consultant. It's a lot of working with the team, a lot of working with clients, and the biggest part of it is solving problems. So I always say that consultants are professional problem solvers because that's what we do. Our clients bring us in to solve their toughest problems when they have things that they don't know how to fix. And they say, AMEND, come on in, we need some help. So it's a lot of critical thinking, a lot of using your brain, a lot of every day is so different. So if that's something that's interesting to you, then consulting could be a good spot for you. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different types of consulting. So, you know, you could do management consulting, which is what we do, which is very varied across the board. But, you know, there's marketing consulting, there's IT consulting, there's design consulting, and the industry specific consulting that I talked about. So if, you know, what we talked about with AMEND, if you're like, oh, I don't really think bouncing around industries would be something that I'm interested in, Don't disqualify consulting from your list of things you might want to do because there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Or if you're like, I think that management consulting could be a good spot, that's awesome. Let's talk more about it. But in general, very fast paced, a lot of collaboration with the team. I always say it's like a really big group project, but a fun one with all people who are smart and doing their jobs with you. So it's not like the terrible group project in school where, you know, you get stuck doing all the work. It's one where you get to work with your friends who are all just super crazy smart people. So it's pretty fun. As far as who can be a consultant, there's really not one specific major. So, you know, we've got marketing, operations, engineering, computer scientists, all sorts of different people on the AMEND team, because what's important is that we have all different types of skill sets so that we can serve all different sorts of clients. So most of our teams are a cross-functional mix of, you know, operations people and data scientists and project managers, because we need all of those skill sets, because as our clients grow, we do a lot of different things with them, and we need to be able to, you know, bounce around different skill sets. So not one specific major, which is pretty cool. And one thing I'm going to hit on this slide is the most important skill that I think you need if you want to be a consultant is this figure it out mentality and motivation. Because like I said, our clients are calling us in to help solve their biggest problems. So very rarely do we walk in knowing what the answer is. So a lot of times it's, oh my God, this is a huge problem and I don't exactly know how to solve it. And that's okay, because that's what we do every day. And you have the entirety of the AMEND team to support you. And the more that you can lean into that and try to figure it out on your own, the faster you're going to grow and the more successful you're going to be as a consultant. So if that's something that's exciting to you, then consulting could be a good spot, because it's honestly one of the things that I like a lot about consulting is that, you know, there's not an easy answer. So it forces us to use our brains a lot. Yeah.
Talking about teams, how big are the teams for different problems? Or it depends on how big the problem is.
It depends on
You
how
got
big the
it.
problem is. So I did a project with a small local insurance broker. For that, it was just me on the project. For Walmart, we have 5 people staffed on it at all times. I think our biggest project had 12 people on it at once. So still not getting to like 40-person teams, but you know, anything above 5 is pretty normal.
Good question. So that's it for the what is consulting piece of the presentation. Joseph's going to talk about BI next, but any other questions at all about consulting, about AMEND, anything?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are there times where you just can't figure it out?
Yeah. Yes, 100%. So, in like a lot of different ways, there's a lot of ways that something can fail, to be honest. So for a lot of my projects, what we do is we set up and we say, hey, for the first 3-4 weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and spend time working on a proof of concept, figuring out, can we, given what we have, whether it's like the data or the way the business is structured, can we solve the problem you're asking? And then if so, we move into the rest of the project, building that out really strongly. If not, we can essentially cut our losses early and say, hey, what you're asking can't be done based off of these things. But what's nice for us as we can say, okay, here are the 3 things that need to happen. And we can just go do those 3 things and then come back around and make something work. Sometimes things just straight up don't work, and that's more of a conversation. So willingness to have hard conversations, going and telling a president that the way they want to use machine learning to sell more rubber ducks isn't going to work out. That's sometimes just a conversation you have to have. And as the consultant, you're responsible for providing that kind of expertise. So kind of sucks sometimes. The ego will take the occasional hit, but that's the reality of the world.
Good question. What's up?
Going off of these last questions, have you ever had to like manage, how do you manage like clashes between company culture? Have you ever introduced like new concepts, or do you try to keep it as close to the pre-existing company culture as possible?
You want to?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is honestly, it depends. A lot of times, honestly, the culture is something that we want to address. So I work more in the like project management, typical management consulting side of things, whereas Joseph is on the more technical side. So that's something that I see in a lot of my projects is, yeah, sometimes the issue is the people. And that also kind of falls in the category of willingness to have conversations. And sometimes you have to address things with the team that their culture and the, you know, environment that they have built their company around is preventing us from having progress. Like my last client that I was on, they had a very finger pointing culture. So everything was someone else's fault, which, you know, while it made them feel better about the problems we were seeing, all we wanted was to fix them. And it didn't matter whose fault it was. We just needed to all collaborate to fix it. So it was a big culture shift that we needed to introduce in that organization on, okay, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Let's all just work towards a solution and not look at the past, look forward at the future. So that's something that we think about. And then, yeah, as well as when we're introducing other solutions, we need to make sure they're sustainable. So, you know, we need to make sure that they're able to sustain the solutions that we're putting in after we leave. So we have to make sure that they are, you know, things that fit either the culture that they have and they have someone who's going to own that, or the culture that we're designing and helping them implement. Yeah.
Going off of that, and I don't know if you can answer a lot to answer this, but do companies usually take your suggestions well, or have there ever been like cases where it's like you give them a solution and they're like, no, we don't want to do that?
A lot. Not always. So I would say that in general, we're pretty good at building the relationship, because it's about building the trust with the client, where essentially it's like, hey, we understand your business, we understand what you're going through. Here's our recommendation. Here's why. If you can set that up in a good way, people normally are on board with it. There are people who are going to be more resistant to change. There are people who will have differing opinions. Occasionally, people will just say, hey, no, I disagree with you. What we have essentially the opportunity, the leverage to do is the consultant to say, hey, that's fine. We understand that. We respect you. But given the fact that there's not a working relationship here between us, I'm like essentially founded on mutual respect, we're going to go ahead and take our time and do it elsewhere. So that's really nice for us that we have the leverage, not the leverage, but the ability to be partners, rather than essentially be someone's like punching bag, which sometimes can feel like that's the case. But building that partnership normally helps us get around having those situations happen. But I mean, to be honest, if you walk into anyone's business or home and start telling them they're doing things wrong and provide no context, yeah, that's a good way to make a lot of enemies.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys have ever had like cybersecurity consultancy?
So we don't do cybersecurity consulting. We work with people who actually are trying to fix our cybersecurity. Not that we do a lot of cybersecurity in general. The vast majority of what we're doing isn't from that level of IT, if that makes sense. So yeah, short answer, no, we don't really do that. Are you IT security? Can we get a sampling of what the majors are in this room? Sorry, I should have opened with that.
People in IT,
Which IT?
We have multiple ITs. I like it.
Yes, I remember.
Okay, got it.
Cool.
Software.
Okay.
Okay.
What other ITs are?
Yeah, gaming and networking.
Gaming and networking work together to learn people from CS.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, nice. Lot of hands.
We have anyone in electrical or computer engineering?
Yeah, where's the engineers at? Nice.
Love
Let's go.
it.
Alright. And just like other engineering in general, not technology.
Any industrial engineers?
We don't have that here,
Yeah,
Joseph. We
really?
don't have that. No.
Is getting
I heard. I'm really excited. I'm so hyped.
That makes sense why no one is one.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, one thing that I didn't mention, but I probably should have, knowing this group that we were talking to, is we also, within our consulting business, have a software startup called Batched. It's a label manufacturing scheduling software, which I know sounds like a mouthful and not the coolest thing you've ever heard, but I promise it is a really cool thing. Because I'll give you a 10-second plug on it, but it is a cool opportunity to build a startup environment within the safety of a consulting firm and be fully funded by that consulting firm. So Batch does not have any outside investors. they get to pull on the AMEND talent whenever they want, but they also are learning how to build a business from the ground up. So it's a pretty cool opportunity. So if you're interested in the more like coding technical side of things, Batch could be a good spot for you. So just quick heads up there. Cool, good questions, yeah.
So how often does it happen where, let's say, someone comes with a problem and you have an idea of like either this technology or this strategy can probably solve it, but you don't have anyone in the team with enough experience on it. So do you just like tell them, okay, hey, go and learn about this, or do you now consult someone else about it?
Yeah, both, which sucks because I feel like we keep saying that. So that has happened many times, and I have myself essentially done like, okay, right now I'm working with a client that uses Azure. They have an Azure data lake. They want to get their data piped into an instance, our own instance of an Azure data lake, so that way they don't have to pay the fees of us pulling it, right? I have never built that connection, but also no one who has the time right now at AMEND has. So I'm going about learning it, and then getting someone's time for like an hour to essentially say, hey, are the assumptions I'm making correct? Using the team in that way, but doing the learning. If there wasn't anyone, and when that's happened previously, we've done some collaboration with different universities, to be honest. So Batch is a scheduling optimization. It's a really, really aggressive scheduling optimization that we're developing originally running on some of the supercomputers at UC. In order to get to that point and to get all that math worked out in general, we were engaged with 2 different UC professors. I didn't go to UC, so I don't know who they are. But so like in terms of going and consulting, we're not like turning to Deloitte, which is another consulting firm. We're turning to like academics and pure experts in terms of like figuring out what can and cannot be done. So both. Yeah.
Awesome, sounds good. So on that note, should we dive into BI?
Oh yeah, business intelligence. Do you mind if I do the clicky?
Go for it.
Thanks. Has anyone ever heard of business intelligence? A lot of CS people rolling around here and IT, so I figure that's all hanging out. Sweet. Which ones have you guys heard of? Wait. Which ones have you heard of? Throw them out.
Spoiler.
Yeah, other than Power BI, which is obviously what we're here to talk about. Nice. Does anyone know one of the weird ones? Not exactly. What?
Excel? I think you could do it.
I dislike that, but I mean, yeah, I could give you Excel. Excel could be reporting.
That tells me about Tableau all the time.
Yeah, Tableau. So Tableau and Power BI are by far the 2 largest. I put up Google Data Studios. These are buzzwords you guys can use in classes or interviews or whatever, because they're getting big. There's also Click, which used to be another BI software. But what is business intelligence, right? So business intelligence is just essentially showing, looking at, splicing and dicing data to start making the decisions you need to make for your business. It's essentially making the boardroom argument of a bunch of old dudes that you'd see in all the movies where they talk about the company strategy and starting to reduce it to actual numbers based off what the company has been doing in terms of performance. So what we do inside of business intelligence is we go and we grab that data, slice, dice, throw in different visuals, and then present it out so that it can be used to answer those business questions. Should we do a major acquisition? I don't know. Do you have the numbers to back it up? That's the type of stuff that we're looking at. How are we performing in sales? How does that compare to last year? Those are questions that once you're running like $100 million business, you don't know the answer to. But if you just use some business intelligence, you can get a pretty firm grasp of that. So going off the slides now, skip the first 2 because I don't care about them. But who can use it? Any business. Business intelligence is important for anyone who has data. And it's really something that if you don't learn in class, I advise at least Googling a little bit, because you can at least be on the knowing side of that swing. It's really, really important. And as you look at trends, it is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger in different businesses. There are a lot of jobs right now, if anyone is hunting, that you can just say, hey, I have a really strong foundation in business intelligence. and that's going to put you at the front of that line. I'm not telling you because you need to go get a job right now. I'm just saying, like, if you're looking for applicable skills that sort of maybe apply to IT or computer science, that's something that you could pay attention to if you want to be working in a business space. Any questions about what's on this slide, even though I barely talked to what's on the slide at all? Any questions about the words that just poured out of my mouth? Sick. Oh, the BI process in 5 steps or less. WikiHow with pictures. 1 through 5. First, understand the question you want to answer. So business intelligence is about answering business questions, which means you need to gain the business understanding to be able to ask that question. Gorilla Glue is going to have very, very different questions they want to answer than Paycor, because Paycor is a software as a service business. Gorilla Glue sells glue. Like, yeah, glue as a service. That'll be the next thing. But obviously, you have to understand that those are completely different things, and you need to understand what questions you're going to answer for them. So understanding the question, because really you can visualize data every single way you want. You can staple it against a wall if you really want to, but if it's not in a way that's easy to read and understand, it's kind of trash. And congrats, now you have bad data everywhere. Sourcing the data, looking at it, finding out where it is, where you can pull it from. I know for school, a lot of people will, I don't know, does anyone's curriculum cover like cloud computing at all in CS?
No, like that.
So do you guys ever at any point, like, or do you all ever pull data from the cloud? Or is most of it like you're given a CSV file? If you're working with data, I guess I'm making some rash assumptions about the coursework.
A little bit of both. Not having thoughts like how the professor like gives us data either on the cloud or he gives us a CSV file that we have to put it on the cloud ourselves.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So like, yeah, essentially just going through. Do you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say on the IT side, we do work with APIs.
Oh, perfect. Okay, excellent example. So APIs, I'm not going to get into it, but you can get data from an API. You have to go and understand what data is available, source it, go through it, clean it. That's a big thing that if you haven't hit yet, ETL is important, extract, transform, load. You pull in the data, you take care of all the terrible stuff about it, and you load it into a way that you can use it. Really important if you're interested in data science. Step 3, for at least for business intelligence, is create your measures, figure out what you want to know. If you're a business, you know, everyone cares about money, so they'll want to know things like revenue. How much did things cost? So just make that measure, sum all that up. It's really not hard math. It's just math that has to be applied over a lot of data. 4, set up opportunities to cross-reference. Basically what that means is if I want to see all of my sales by state, do I also want to see it by product group? Do I also want to see it by who it was sold to? Information like that that could help someone who's maybe managing the local Ohio sales of Gorilla's Glues Glue, Glues Glue. Anything like that, getting that cross-reference opportunity is really important. And then 5, which is, I would say the most important, but at least the top of this pyramid, is provide quick answers and then the detail why. So this is kind of what we talked about before. If you walked into someone's business, walked into someone's house, and told them that they were doing something wrong, they'd probably say, why are you in my house? Or they would ask why. In general, do you think that what I'm doing is wrong? When you're going through collecting the data and setting it up in a way, you need to have the why answered. And then if you're doing it really well, you have a couple whys answered below that. So if you say 2021 was a record year for glue sales, someone would say, okay, why? And then you can show, all right, we brought on 4 new customers. Why? Okay, these 4 new customers were really interested in the promotional deal that we gave them. Because you're able to provide those 3 levels of why, there's not a question as to why was this a good year, because everyone can see it on the page with the numbers. So 5 steps, 5 easy steps. Everyone can do it at home.
So now you're trained.
Yeah, so we're done. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Now, we'll do a little bit of a demo, but before we get into the demo, I know this is an aggressive overview super quickly. Questions, comments, concerns, jokes?
So, is there a time that you feel like you didn't have all the data, so to speak, step to source data is that you take all data that the company currently has, and you actually collect data from now into the future?
Oh yeah. So with a lot of reporting, in general, people ask for things that can't be given based off of what they're collecting. So if you are running a mechanic shop and you want to know where your customers live, but you've never asked for a customer's address, you naturally can't report on that. So what we do for our projects is we say, hey, we've sourced the data that we can, here's the holes that we're missing. And then, like I said, luckily when we're working in like larger teams, we can say, all right, 2 people from the team are gonna go in and make sure that we can start getting this data be tracked, whether it's in like some sort of ERP system or every single time you work on someone's car, you ask their address, they fill out a form, something like that. They do that, and then as the report is getting built, we're able to pull in that new data as we go. So to answer your question, that happens a lot. People really don't understand what data is being collected, especially people who are a little afraid of computers, which sometimes is who we can run into. Any other thoughts? That's why it's sweet. And then you.
Does the data usually, is there any part of the data that comes not from the company that we're working with, like outside sources that are used in that analysis?
Yeah, so that is something that I get into a lot. It's pretty much just any outside data sources. So there is actually an API we've used for weather before called Dark Sky, where you can just go, everyone knows Dark Sky, but you can just go and pull all the weather data that you would need. So there's stuff like that. I have done a simple web scrape to pull like commodity pricing as well. So if you need a client who does jewelry, right? They're trying to understand why their revenue is going up. All right, gold has gone up 13% over the last year. Is it by chance your revenue go up 13%? So pulling in data like that has become pretty common practice for me, to be honest. You also had a question.
Yeah, just is it common for you guys to just have one team work on all of these steps? Because there's a lot in there that you probably did not.
Yeah, so I think what normally will happen is you could split these 5. So I have done all 5 of these personally, and sometimes we don't split them up. The easiest way to split them is probably in like 2 or 2.5 teams. So if we're looking at 2 and 3, those are really data engineering tasks. So you're collecting the data, you're maybe doing some feature creation, getting it packaged up and ready to go. What we might do and what's become more consistent as we've been getting larger projects is we'll say, okay, 2 people go over here. You're going to handle the API connections we need, actually do the data engineering steps. And then we'll bring in someone like Kelsey, who's like a business specialist, to understand and talk through question 1 with the client. So if we're like breaking this up, I would be taking care of 2 or 3. Kelsey would be taking care of 1, 4, and 5 potentially, where she's taking her business knowledge and I'm taking my ability to type on a computer, and we're mixing them together to make sure that all 5 of them can be taken care of. Sweet. So who all has seen Power BI or Tableau? I'll give Tableau some love. 1, 2, 3, cool. 4, nice. 5. Well, if you haven't, here's an okay dashboard that was made a couple years ago, and has now been scrubbed of client data. What's important to know is this was actually a client that we had. It's just that all of their names and stuff has been taken off of it. And this is a real report. This is something that we got paid to do. This is something that we put together, and honestly, we're pretty proud of. There's a lot going on here that is behind, not closed doors, but behind a little bit of a, this is a screenshot, so you can't see the UI. But if there's no questions about this immediately, I can start clicking around. If I can figure out a way to plug in my computer to this. Fingers crossed on that. Start clicking around and give a little bit of a demo. I can go as in-depth or not as in-depth as wanted. That being said, I only have like 3 data sets loaded, so.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yes. There's need you to join Teams meeting.
Oh, sweet.
So that you can like record all the topic.
Oh, yeah, no, of course.
Should I switch this to HDMI? Or will joining the Teams meeting get it up there? Will joining the Teams meeting get it up there, or should I switch this to HDMI?
HDMI is fine. It's just a.
Oh, I don't know if it is up there.
It should be.
Oh, no, it's still. Think of it as a.
This is your opportunity to go get busy, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quick break.
EMS LEY, ACT, AMEND LLC. Wow, first time ever walking onto UC's internet.
Oh, excited for you, Joseph.
Yeah, this is so thrilling.
It's a big moment.
Never would have guessed. Look at me now, man.
No, it is. Awesome.
Your inbox is so clean.
Well, thanks. I do it every single morning.
I love that for you.
The demo can literally be 2 minutes or it can be, I only have till 8, so it would be a maximum of 7 minutes. But it could go for literally
Yeah, I mean, if you like
Sweet. Okay, cool.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I'm going to tell people to stop eating. Yeah. Okay, cool. Hi. I'm going to use my projection voice. I apologize. Everyone just got up to get some falafel. Is this from Al Medina? Is this Al Medina catering?
Oh, love
Feel free to
that.
grab the food once you guys are done.
I'm good. I was in college
Appreciate it,
once. I'll
though.
leave the leftovers for the people who are in.
I think you should have been added to the Teams meeting if you want to join. Let me know if you're not.
I do not have the Teams.
Did it not?
No way, it's in my spam. Hello, Joe Rabbit. In my spam.
Damn, Joe.
Oh, heck yeah.
Love it. You look so weird in that.
That's so odd.
Oh, you're at Adam Steele's house. That's so fun. Maybe just turn it off.
Look, man, I'm cooking a lot of things right now. Yeah, screw that. Everyone can see me.
Yes.
We got it.
All right. All right. We're gonna lock back in for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I apologize. We only have like 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna try to bust through a little bit of a demo and then have some time for conversation. This is Power BI in terms of what it actually looks like to create it. So you can click and drag things. It's super easy. You can see any fields that you have, and you can make reports. So what we're looking at right now is essentially CBG flight data, trying to understand what type of airlines are flying in and out of CBG, how late they are, where they're going, etc. So something that's really cool about Power BI is it has really neat filtering functionality. So I can click on, I don't know what F9 is. I can click on Delta DL and see everything else that gets filtered. So average of canceled origin airports, filters down to only look at anything that is specifically looking at Delta flights. I could do the same thing for, I don't know any of them, Delta, but can do that same approach for any of these. And what's really cool about Power BI is how drag and drop it is. So I can set up this day, nope, that's not what I want. My CVG flights data. It's giving me the date of the flight, the airline, the flight number, origin airport, all this information. And if I just want to start viewing it in different ways, all I have to really do is come into here and just start dragging things out. So if I was trying to look at arrival delay by, I don't know, by airline, let's go with that. Just by clicking and dragging that, I can now see the average arrival delay by airline. I know I took 2 clicks. It's super easy. It's really, really powerful. And as long as you understand some like really basic databasing stuff in terms of like master and detail tables, which I think is pretty standard. Setting up the data structure, really, really simple. Pulling in any of this data information is really, really easy. And then, like I said, what's awesome about this, if I also wanted to see, you know, distance traveled by the airport. So let's do by city. So Dallas-Fort Worth is the most important, not most important, but most distanced. It's important to understand your data, so don't do what I'm doing right now. But like I said, I can click into Dallas-Fort Worth and I can see, okay, this is actually filtered. I'm seeing only the Dallas-Fort Worth flights across all of those. So in this case, we actually know that American Eagle and Frontier Airlines look like they're the only ones that run to Dallas-Fort Worth from CVG. Which I guess if anyone's trying to go on spring break is important to know.
Hey, it makes sense. Dallas is an American Airlines hub. I know this because I was on a client in Dallas for the last 3 months and I flew American Airlines every single week.
Oh,
So this is very topical to my life.
But yeah, it's really, really cool. There's a lot you can do. And like when I say a lot, there's like so much. Like look up one YouTube video and you can go down a rabbit hole real fast. But you can hover over everything. You can put this over time if I wanted to essentially say, okay, what does that look like? Distance traveled by date. Click into here, open up my visual. I'm just going to get rid of the city. I want to see it by year, month. Okay, so it's not a huge data range, but you can see that essentially I have the first 3, probably 2.5 months out of the year broken out. And once again, the entire point of this is how easy it is to put the data together and to show it. So if I was a CVG executive, I could say, oh, wow, Delta Airlines is arriving really early, I guess, overall. But I mean, that's a dumb example, clearly, but you know, it's the idea and the principles behind, all right, there's a lot of data that potentially you could not process inside of Excel. You could in like R or Python, that'd be fine, but being able to show it is really powerful. Question?
So is this what you would show business executives?
No.
This exactly.
No, oh my God, no. So, I mean, there's a lot of formatting you can do to make it look prettier. And there are standards we run with at AMEND to make things feel professional. It can be anything from when I hover over this, instead of it saying airline and average of departure delay, it'll maybe show another smaller graph, or there'll be a logo or something. I mean, like if we flip back, well, there's no easy way to flip back, but to the other one, you know, it was much more put together. If I showed this to someone at work, I'd be horrified. However, this is just something that I threw together for this conversation. Yeah.
So there must be some kind of spreadsheeting going behind all of this, all of these numbers, right?
Yeah, so spreadsheeting is pretty close. I'd call it more just like data tables. So inside of this, you can see all of the data that we have in terms of CVG flights. I mean, this is free data you can download off Kaggle right now if you really wanted to. So if I pull this in and get it set up with a couple different tables, so like I can go into airlines, I have the IATA code, which I know just because I've worked with the data is like the airline code. That's what lets me essentially set it up. So spreadsheeting, yes. if you treat this like Excel, it'll be a very confusing mishap, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Like jumping off of that, it's not purely Excel, so like, I'm guessing it's closer to SQL tables if you work with those.
Yeah.
So can you run SQL commands or is there like any facility that like?
Yep. So something that's really cool, if you click get data, which I think is a very funny button, it gives you a lot of connectors. Some of these are pre-built. So like, for example, you can open up a SharePoint folder and pull in all of the files in there. SQL Server database is really, really common. If you go into a SQL Server database, you actually have the opportunity to just write a raw SQL statement instead of like pulling in multiple different tables. So sometimes I'll do that because working with SQL sometimes is cleaner than dealing with raw tables, to be honest. So you don't have to write a view in the system. You can just write a view inside of the report, and then it'll pull the SQL code through the query you wrote and then dump it into the table.
Is all the data you guys get open source, or is it based on what the company can do at their discretion?
The vast majority of it's proprietary, because a lot of it's coming from like their private sales ERP, or it's coming from ERPs, or like any business technology that collects data. So we're under a lot of NDAs, if that makes sense, because of the amount of essentially sales and financial data we get. But the vast majority of what we actually end up using is proprietary. I will use open source data if I need to make a data set stronger, if that makes sense. So like pulling from dark sky API, if I need weather data for a model I'm building that works on how fast metal cools. Okay, it sits outside, it's going to be important to know what the weather is. The company isn't collecting that, but I know the data exists, so I'll go grab that.
Well, I know we're at time. Any last final questions, thoughts? Yeah.
How often do companies give you bad data or like super unstructured?
All the time. Literally all the time. The most advanced companies are running off the worst data in the world. I don't understand. It's so tough. A lot of the work comes in upfront, understanding and dealing with just bad data.
Is there any like quick good practice that you guys can give us when it comes to collecting data? That you guys see like, oh, if they really would have just done this, it would have been so much easier.
Yeah. The biggest one is making sure you're maintaining good database design. So the amount of places I've walked into where they don't really have any sort of primary field, and then trying to later go on and extract and like pull that information into something that you can report, or if you're doing like predictive modeling work with, is a nightmare. So I mean, like, if I had to give one tip to someone, it would be really to just make sure that the way you are setting up your database is textbook. Like, there's no reason to do anything fancy. There's no reason to try something wild because you think you're special. Like, just set up an extra table if you need to. Databases can run on a crap ton of tables. We don't need to compile everything in one really bad one, if that makes sense. But I think a lot of people will do that because they're like, oh, it's like a spreadsheet. I'll just keep adding columns. And you're like, like, don't do that, please. So that's the biggest thing I'd probably say.
Perfect.
Have you seen any company using no SQL?
No, not really. Sorry, that's not an exciting answer.
All right. Well, I will close with saying that if anything that I talked about or Joseph talked about in consulting or data science or Power BI is interesting to you and you want to talk more about it, please let us know. We have an analyst program, which is our internship program, and post-grad, recent graduate program for their onboarding. So basically, if you're graduating or if you're looking for an internship, we have this awesome development program that runs in spring, summer, and fall. So all year round, We're hiring a ton of people. We're looking for 15 to 20 analysts every single rotation. So that means there's a lot of opportunity. So if you are interested, we love hiring UC students. I will share information with your exec and some contact info so that they can send it out with all of you. So if you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out and apply, and we would love to chat more. Yeah.
Are you guys still taking interns and jobs for spring semester?
We sure are. We're hiring for spring, summer, and fall of 2022 right now. So if you're looking for something for spring, I would absolutely love to chat.
Yeah, we both went through that program. I
Yeah.
really highly recommend it. Also, if anyone has any questions in general, you're welcome to email either of us with that contact information. So, cool.
What's your favorite part of working at AMEND?
This is a dangerous question to ask at the end of this presentation because I could talk for an hour, but I promise I won't because we all got places to go. But in short, my favorite part of working at AMEND is the people that we get to work with. We have a really, really awesome culture and a really close-knit family community at AMEND. And I just like that I get to go to work and hang out with people that I genuinely enjoy. And I get to come do things like this with people who make me laugh, like Joseph, instead of like the stiff corporate world that, you know, some other people have to work in. It's a really, really fun place to get to learn and grow.
You got the easy one, people, that's what most people say. For me, the next one runner-up is independence. You know, we are a small consulting firm. We hire people who are capable and we give them a lot of trust. I love that. Like, I get to do, not I get to do whatever I want, but for the most part, I get to run my projects how I see fit, have a lot of control, and I'm at least always on the passenger seat of what I'm doing, if not actually behind the wheel. And I love that because I cannot be, not a very coggy person. That doesn't work for me. So power to anyone who does.
Yeah, so I realize we're really biased, but we think it's a pretty cool place to work.
Yeah.
And if you want to come join us, like we said, please let us know, reach out. We'll share both of our emails with all of you so that you have that, and I'll send out a link to our application as well. Sound good? Awesome, it was so nice to meet all of you. Thank you so much for having
Do you
us.
guys mind staying for like a couple of minutes after I close out to talk to you guys about?
Absolutely. If you have to go, you can totally go. I can
Okay,
stay.
cool. Oh, awesome. I'll just close out in like
Yeah.
2 minutes and then I can talk to you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey and Joseph, for that talk. We did get to learn a whole lot. That F5 doesn't work at Google Slides. Just realized that. So to close out, be sure to join our Slack. I know you guys have, most of you probably already are. Join our sibling organizations such as IEEE, ACMW, UC Women in Tech, and ITSA. Oh, am I not sharing my screen? No.
Thanks.
Thanks.
This projector is not working.
Oh, no. Thanks. Yes, join our sibling organizations. 2 of them had events literally right before this. So IEEE had an event at 5 and ACMW had an event at 6. And then, ACMW had an event at 6. So big day for tech clubs. Another thing, UAA has a leadership conference this weekend. So you can find more information over here and it's also in our Slack and IEEE Slack and ACMW Slack. So if you guys want more information on that, definitely do check it out. It is this weekend, November 20th, which is Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Lerner. And as you can see, lunch will be provided. So do register for it. It's going to be super fun and a great learning experience about Asian experiences. If you want to lead a talk or workshop, feel free to DM me on Slack or email me. We've had a couple student speakers in this semester, and we'll have more next semester as well. So if you have an idea, if you want to listen from a company or a technology, but you don't want to give that talk, still feel free to message us, and we can get that done. Upcoming meeting, our next meeting will be December 2nd, Thursday at 7 p.m., which will be the last meeting of the semester. It will be very much informal, but it would just be like a Python review session. Just to prepare you kind of for like final exams in case you want that. Get to know us more, hang out with us in Discord, join our voice channels, meet with other members. Most of our members are on there, like all the time. I know Daniel is on Discord like 24/7. Talk about your interest. Talk about your experiences that you see, your favorite languages. If you have any cool projects that you're working on, talk about that. If you need any homework help or if you find any cool classes, feel free to message that into Slack or Discord. Thanks for coming. If you haven't yet, feel free to, or please sign into the attendance at acm@uc.org/c. So, so we had one social the past semester, or like during the semester break, we went to the pumpkin patch. We are trying to do another online social, hopefully closer to the exam week, so that people get like a time to relax and have more fun. And we'll have more next semester as well. But if you have an idea for social, feel free to DM me and we can try to see if we can get that.
I don't have it.
Okay. No, we'll do another online social, like a virtual social this semester. Did you have a question?
You answered Elway, it was the next meeting, maybe all these.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you so much for coming. Feel free to grab some more food. We have a whole lot of leftovers. Our exec members have taken so much food this semester. I don't think they want to do more.
No, I'll take it.
Oh, okay. Daniel wants to. Okay. But thank you so much for